Okay. So the topic today is how you do it. Simple enough, right? So let's dig deep and find out how these extraordinary women get it done. So let's introduce ourselves to everybody watching today.
My name is China Man. I'm with the Women Business Center. We are a nonprofit organization with a strong support of the for-profit sector, equals entrepreneurs, and small business community.
I am Priscilla Hasso, Executive Director for Border Health Pack. It's a political action committee.
My name is Sarah Hammond. I am an owner of Atlas Electrical and Air Conditioning Services. It's a family-owned business.
Hi, I'm Veronica Gonzalez. I'm an attorney, but for the last few years I've been working as the Vice President for University Advancement at the University of Texas Pan American. Advancement includes fundraising, marketing, public relations, public affairs, and alumni relations.
My name is Bridget McAdams, and I'm an executive coach and trainer with the John Maxwell team.
And hi, I'm Giselle Mascareñas Villarreal, and I am with Indigo PR. So let's get started. Let's just kind of have a conversation about how do we get it done? How are we successful in our own right? And manage life in general.
Well, I think Veronica would be a great start for this because not only did she come from an amazing background in a political career, then she went right back into UTPA. I think she would be an astounding person to start with.
Well, here we go. I live by list, pretty much. I have to write down what I want to accomplish and mark it off in order for me to feel like I've actually accomplished something. And I think over the last several years, I did some soul searching because I wanted to know what really would motivate me and drive me. I had been a lawyer for 20 plus years, and I wanted to do something that I felt I was making a difference. And I had done that with politics, but unfortunately, in the political world, it consumes you and then you don't get to do your paying job. So I decided that I wanted to do something that would fulfill my passions and at the same time would give me a way to earn a living. And so this job, I think it does that, although it is super busy. So I juggle a lot of balls in the air, but I do it by keeping lists. I do it with fantastic staff, and I do it with a lot of help actually from the community. People come out and help us with alumni. Sarah helps us with Alumni Association. Giselle, you do as well. Chado as well, and her husband. Everybody does. DHR's helped us with so many events, and that's what it takes a team effort.
Veronica, when you talk about doing lists, I have a really hard time with that. Do you actually every day write a list, and then what you don't accomplish that day on your list, you go over and carry it over for the next day, or how does that? How do you actually do it? 'Cause I need to learn more of that.
Well, I have lists everywhere, actually. I have it on my phone, I have paper lists, so as I think of something that I need to do, I write it down. And then that way, if a few days go by and I got caught up on another project, I can go back and look at what I haven't finished yet that I need to get done. And then I calendar, as much as I can, because that really does help as well. But it is, I probably make it find about 10 lists in my office at one time, and on my phone as well. But it really does help to at least get the thoughts out of my head, and especially at night when I can't sleep, because I'm thinking of all the things I want to do. I just have to wake up, write it down somewhere, and then I feel like, okay, now I can go to sleep.
So Sarah, tell us a little bit about, I know you're involved in probably, how many boards are you involved in?
I think it's like 8.
So you're involved in 8 boards, and I know you're that type of person that's super responsible. If you say you're gonna do something, you don't just do it, but you do it at 200%. So you also have how many children?
I have 3 daughters. I have a 6-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 12-year-old.
And you manage that.
And I manage Atlas, which is I am in charge of the collections, the hiring and the firing, the employees, the staffing. I call every single customer after every single job is done, just to make sure that everything is up to par. So I have to really manage my time. My days are very selective. And thanks to you, you used to have a calendar, so I went and bought one. And I got myself a calendar, so now I know where I'm going, what day I need to be there, and that's what I'm going to do for the day. And then I have, like Veronica, my email and my text messaging. And I delete everything that I've already accomplished, or I put it in a folder if I'm done with it. And whatever I haven't finished, that's when I go back in and I'm like, okay, I haven't finished this, and I open my email first, and then I'm like, I need to do this, take care of that, get that done, then I go through my text messages, and I'm like, okay, I have to send this person that, get all that done, and then I start working on my Atlas stuff, and I'm like, okay, customer time, nobody call me, all I focus on is Atlas.
So you're focused. You know, hearing both of you, what I'm getting, and probably I think we all probably share, is the fact that we don't make excuses for what needs to get done. We just get it done. Does that kind of sound familiar with everybody? Is that, because, you know, I know that some people that are watching probably ask that question, like, how do they do it? Well, I think 99% of us probably find ourselves all, you know, or 99% of the people watching probably find themselves like, well, what if I can't get it done? Or maybe I should get done that way, or, oh, that person thinks I can't get it done, so then I'm not gonna do it, or whatever it is that's going through their head, probably it's a fear, and so none of that, I think everyone here, or maybe insecurity?
I think it's about learning what commitment really means. Probably different people have a different definition of what commitment really means. For us, it's like we're passionate about what we do. So we go beyond the daily tasks and chores, but we feel like these little steps that we do are going to take us to our goals or our programmatic outcomes or whatever we are responsible for. So I believe we are all responsible people, and that's why we want to, if we don't do it, nobody else will. And in terms of what we are responsible for.
You said something interesting about passion. So how did you find your passion?
Like for example, in the area that I am, entrepreneurship, I'm passionate for entrepreneurship. I have been an entrepreneur myself. And this program is just perfect for suits not only my personal goals, but also the goals that I can accomplish for the community. And just helping women bring their dreams to reality, it's the best for me. It's the most satisfying thing you can ever imagine. And I have seen people that come not even have an idea of how to ask a question, of how they can start organizing the idea of the dream that they want into a piece of paper which is called a business plan,
yes.
And then implement it, and then making it sustainable. That is the hardest part, you know? The idea is okay, but it's here, then we'll help them, okay, put it in a piece of paper, which is a business plan, and then implement it, and then you see the money coming in at the end. So that's how my mind works that way. I have to see a diagram and flow charts and everything, you know, but an outcome. I'm always outcome oriented and very mission oriented.
Giselle, when Chado was talking, it made me think of something that as women, you know, we want to do it all, and we want to do it all great, and we want to not put it on somebody else. But I think we have to learn how to delegate, because there are certain things that you can do, but you shouldn't have to do, that somebody else can do it as well, and they would do a fine job at it. It's hard not to micromanage sometimes, because you want to make sure it's done the way you want it.
Or tell them, move out of the way.
You know.
Move out of the way, I can just get it done
Just do it myself.
Which I do.
Yeah.
But we have to learn to trust other people to do things. You know, I remember when I was first practicing law, I had been a legal secretary before I ever went to law school, so I was used to making the copies and doing the certified mail stuff, and so I was trying to do it all as a lawyer, and one of my partners at the time, he came and said, "What are you doing?" You know, I was making copies. He said, "You can make copies, or you can go and work on the motions and the pleadings, and you're making a lot more money doing that than you are sitting there using that time to do, because time is money." And so we just have to learn to pick the projects and pick the items, you know, that we have to do, and the rest we should learn to trust other people to do it. It's something I'm still working on, but I think we have to be better at it.
You know, a lot of us, I'm sure, have experienced this. What happens when you delegate over and over again, but they don't seem to do it at a standard that you have? Because that's the other thing I think I'm sure that we all share. We have a standard. And that's why we probably a lot of the time find ourselves doing it ourselves. But how do you manage that?
Well, I think you know, you can ask somebody to do something, and then you can show them how to do it. If you just ask them to do it, they're going to do it the way they're used to doing it. If you show them the way you want it done, or, you know, it may take a little more time at the outset, but it will save you time on the back end. And so I think if you are able to give a little bit more direction, or even in letters, you know, you actually revise the letter in the way you like it so they can see how you write. and then they'll start to pattern it after that. Maybe when they're writing for somebody else, they do it the way they like it. When they're writing for you, the way you like it. If it gets to the point where it, you know, it just over and over again, then you have the wrong person that you're delegating to.
Exactly. Hire someone new. There's many things that have come into my mind as we're talking here. One, I totally agree. Sarah is a woman of her word, and I think that's one of the most important things that we
So
can
true.
be. And say no. We have to learn to say no a lot if we're truly going to live into our purpose and what we're supposed to be doing. So that's huge. I think if there's anything that we can pay someone else to do, that we can be earning more money with our skills and talents, that we should certainly pay somebody to do it. If you don't like cleaning, don't clean your house. You should be paying somebody to do that, right?
That's true.
I think the position that we're in, for most of us here, excuse is not an option. You know, we can't make excuses, we don't have time to make excuses. We have to get it done. There is no alternative, there is no other choice, you know. Our line of work, we all have to keep going, and there is no, you know, room for setbacks or getting stuck in the position that, oh my God, you know, like you said, the fear factor. We don't have time for fear, you just have to move ahead and run with it and have a great outcome.
And if, you know, your plan isn't exactly how it's working out, then change your plan at that, you know, at that second, which goes into, you know, change. The world we live in now, it's changing all the time. I mean, is everyone, you know, tech savvy? I mean, does everybody know?
Delegate that.
I go to my daughter and I'm like, okay,
And
turn on your
she's
iPad.
11.
Oh yeah, she's smart, and she's like, turn on your iPad and show me what you did. And she's like, okay. And so she does it, and then I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I take it back, and then I figure out what she did, and I learn from her. I learned from you, you know, get on Twitter. I don't like Twitter. You know, I don't know how to use Twitter. But I did it. Why? Because it's something that's coming up. It's good for my business. It's good to keep informative information on. And so I have to go with the flow. So you have to force yourself to at least learn something of it to grow.
Change is hard. I mean, and
Change is
people
hard.
resist change, but change is typically good. And so we have to learn to just adjust to the times. And it's not that hard to learn some of these things. It's just the resistance of, oh gosh, I have to learn something new. But I think if we find somebody that we really trust, we have a good time with, and they're showing us how to do it, once you've got it, you know, you've got it, and you've got a new tool in your toolbox. So it's just getting used to the idea of change. And I think as women, we have certain ways that we like to do things, and we don't want to have to change them.
Stubborn.
But you know, but whether you're, you know, managing your home or you're managing a business, you've got to have a plan, and then you work your plan.
Yeah, plan and pride in it.
One of the things that I've noticed about myself in this process that I'm growing, because I'm constantly growing.
Yeah.
I feel like my physical personality is constantly changing, because I'm learning how to adapt, you know, not just with the office and with the staff and the employees. I had pretty much that down, but with the different board people that I meet, the different personalities, the different structures, my passion may be different from their passion, but just because they have
And how to
a
execute
different
it.
passion, it doesn't mean that they're not passionate about it. So sometimes I have, like lately I've seen myself, okay, you know, let me hold back some of my passion, let me wait, let me allow them to blossom. So now, not only do I want to help entrepreneurs and help women, you know, grow their businesses, but now I'm looking at the board and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to help her, or how am I going to help him be all that they can be in their position? So I have to switch my mind. So I'm constantly changing the way I perceive things, and that's one of the good things I think about all of us, is that we are constantly changing. I mean, how do you do it to get all the, you know, the campaigns that you do and the funds that you raise? I mean, that is incredible. I don't know how you structure that.
I still don't know. I think as
Because you
women,
just do it.
we just do it. We all, you know, try to have great organization skills, and it always works great at the beginning of the year. You know, always in December, oh my God, you know, come January, I need a new form of organization. I need to do this better, you know, and you start off well. I think everybody starts off well. You know, a new calendar, and I'm going to be completely organized, and by the end of March, that's gone. You know, there is no calendar, or you can't find your calendar, and everything is, like you said, text message, your little task notes on your phone, and everything just starts coming in repeatedly. And I'll never forget when Veronica was in office. You were in office, and it was one of your kickoff campaigns, and somebody asked if she was married or why she wasn't married, and she said, "I am so busy that I don't have time for a husband. What I really need is a wife." Oh my God, that is so true.
Yep.
And I never forget that, you know, especially, and I thought about it last night when I was doing laundry, and I thought, oh my God, I have not done laundry all week long. I don't have time. That is not something.
And that's where Bridget says, hire someone.
Yes, I have a
someone to
great
do it.
nanny, great references, I can get you somebody.
You know, the thing about you, Chrissy, that I love is that you make even the smallest task just really cute and exciting. If you ever have the opportunity to go to her office, I mean, everything is like a little quote, or it's pink, or I mean, there's always, but just, I mean, even the cutest little notepad, it all is where she likes it, where she enjoys writing on it or looking at it. It's just that, it's her person. You walk in and it's completely her personality, and you love being there. So I can see why, you know, people hand over money to her, because she just makes every, you know, she's just like, you know, can I have $10,000? You know, it's like,
I think I have to be comfortable. You know, I spend the majority of my time there, so I mean, more than 8 hours a day. And
you make it so comfortable. It's so cute.
thank you.
Well, and we had, you know, before we went on film here, we had talked about how so many things are relationship oriented.
Yes.
People will give you money because they have a relationship with you. And people will, you know, open doors for you because they like you. And really, it's about networking. And I think
Getting yourself out
everywhere
there.
we go, we always tell students at the university, even when you're tired or you think, oh, I've studied all day, I don't want to go to this thing, go, because you never know who you're going to meet there. And that applies
So
regardless
true.
of what age you are. Go, because you never know when somebody's going to be able to say, oh, that's interesting that you're doing that. I know somebody that I think, you know, you should talk to. And you make those contacts. And so as tired as we are, sometimes we have to force ourselves, especially when we're just starting a business or we're trying to move up within our own businesses. It's good to network.
That is such a great point. And it's so true. Every single time I've gone to been a part of a different organization and I dive into it, I always meet someone, something always comes of it, some project that's made me see something in a different light, that's made me grow personally or helped my business. And that is that is continuing now through what I'm doing through the Women's Business Center and a lot of other organizations. So it's absolutely important to put yourself out there, not just be in that little box of your business and your home. You have to network with people. You have to grow those different relationships.
And that's challenging also, because a lot of times, even in our work area, we reach a comfort zone and we don't want to leave that particular area. You know, we don't want to go outside, meet new people, you know.
It's like cliques in high school.
Exactly. I sometimes feel like
You're comfortable.
I talk to people all day long. You know, I don't want to have another function to go to, or it comes Friday evening, I want to just have my time and for myself and you know, watch a 30-minute show or you know, a 1-hour show.
But when you're there, when any of us are there, there is no growth. When you're not pushing yourself, and there is no growth. Maybe you don't decline in your business, but there's no growth. Like you stay stagnant.
Right. And a lot of times, you know, Giselle will come and, oh, let's do this and that, you know, and I'll always say, oh my God, that is the last thing
I
have
want to
time
do.
for. I
I know
know,
what you
I just
mean.
want to go home and get in my pajamas. But
And it's taken me years because she was the type that was just at work. I mean, she's really good at what she does. And imagine, I mean, you're seeing senators and congressmen and all the time. But there's also a different aspect. It's feeding herself, meeting new people. You never know where it's going to take you. And your passions, and you change. Today you love to do this, but tomorrow you may want to do something completely different. So getting out there is important.
But that's another thing, is that I don't know that none of us are happy just staying in the same level. I guess we get bored. I get bored, you know, so I have to look for something new, something that is challenging. Otherwise, I feel like I'm stagnant and there's no growth. Exactly what you're saying.
We're
doesn't
made to
feel good.
grow. We're
Mhm.
absolutely created to grow, right? And to express ourselves in different ways. Going back to the networking, I think one of the biggest learns that I've had is when I first started out in networking and getting out there and trying to build my business, it was always, who can I meet and how can they help me in my business?
Mhm.
Oh, what a disastrous way to go about networking, right? Sarah's phenomenal at getting out there, and when she meets somebody, it's who can I introduce you to, right? You put me in charge
Connecting.
together. Yeah,
So amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Our event yesterday came completely because Sarah said, you've got to meet, right? And so
Mhm.
that is such a big takeaway. If people are going out networking to build their own business, that's not
You have
the
to
way.
be looking at what you can do for others.
Do for
Absolutely.
others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I think as women, we need to help other women because, and Chado, kudos to you at this Business Center.
Absolutely.
The Women's Business Summit, because it's a way to take natural talents of women and turn them into a business that's going to help them become more self-sufficient and to have independence. But women a lot of times are very hard on other women. And, you know, I used to tell people when a woman says, I think I'm gonna run for office, there people will say, well, what about your children?
Exactly.
Who's gonna take care
Exactly.
of your kids? What about your husband? Aren't you afraid to leave him all those months? You know, people will ask those questions. Men never ask men those questions. What about your children? And are you afraid to leave your wife? And nobody ever says that to a man, but to a woman, those things come up. And so I think as women, you know, we need to be honest with our friends and to be able to say, well, let's talk about the pros and the cons of doing something, but we need to be supportive and to say, you know what, I think I can help you by introducing you to these folks, or we can connect you, as you were saying, connect you with the right people. And instead of bringing each other down, there's plenty of success available
enough
for
for everyone.
everybody. You know, we just have to help, and the more women that become successful, I think we're going to show, you know, this area, our state, we're going to show everybody that women just have tremendous qualities that we need to nurture, and that women can rule the world.
I agree.
It's an abundance mentality,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
absolutely right.
lacking with a lot of people. But yeah, just knowing that we're not in competition with each other, right? If we help each other, we can both go forward so much better.
Absolutely.
And that's in every realm, right? We're the worst as women. First thing we do is start comparing, right? She's prettier, right? The prettier they are, the more we're gonna pick them apart, right? And it's just, it's terrible. But if we're conscious to not compare ourselves to others, but to compare ourselves to us. Am I better today than I was yesterday, right?
So what tips can you give some of the people watching? Like just some habits that they can start forming today? Because I think honestly, everything starts with how we think of ourselves, period.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what are a few things that people could do on a daily basis that can create habits that will change that?
Any goal or desire that you have whatsoever that has been circling in your mind that you haven't taken action on, do the one thing. You know one thing. I don't care how big the goal is. You know one thing to close the gap, to take one step forward. And as you take the steps forward, the next step comes to you. We stay in the how, right? We have this goal out here, and but how would I ever do that, right? Do the one thing, right? Take that one step forward.
If it's research or a phone call to someone to ask, do you know someone?
Well, because it
Something.
keeps you preoccupied with yourself. So you're so busy trying to get your stuff done, you don't have time to pick apart your friends or the people that you're looking at. You're just there like, hey, great, help me,
Yeah.
come on board, let's do this together. So it just changes your whole aspect because now
Yes.
you're not looking to compete with the people and your peers, you're looking to get support. Oh man, this would be awesome, would you help me do this? Come on, let's do it together. It just changes your whole attitude. And that's what I think a lot of people lack is that instead of standing there and saying, oh, look at her, say, let me join you. Come on, come with us. Come help us.
But I think
Come
that
support
comes
us.
with age too. As women get older, we're not so competitive. You know, we're not trying to outdo another woman or compete with that person. You know, it's, like you said, it's about support. And we turn to our friends for support because at the end of the day, that's our little safety net, you know, and I think younger women tend to get lost in, you know, trying to move forward, that at this age, we're not just about there, but we're trying to get there, and it's
We're
great
asking
support.
ourselves the questions instead of kind of looking outward and pointing a finger or we're now at this age a little wiser and kind of looking within, like, what do I need to do, how do I need to change, kind of thing?
Well, I think all throughout your life, you know, there's always, you have to work on your self-esteem. I mean, I don't care if you're the most gorgeous woman in the world, you're still gonna have things that you doubt about yourself and that you criticize about yourself. Sometimes we're way harder on ourselves than other people are on us. And so I think as you get older, you become more comfortable in your own skin, and so you do have some more self-esteem, but the reality is we always still, you know, oh, I could lose another 10 pounds, or God, I hate my hair, or I'm tired of this, or why haven't I done this, or, you know, gosh, my children aren't doing as well as I want them to do, or, you know, you always find a way to bring it back to you. And so I think as women, we, you know, one of the things I always notice, and I always tell women, is we have to learn how to accept compliments. You know, somebody will tell you, oh, you look great, I love that dress, and you'll say, oh, this whole thing, or, oh, I bought it for $20, I bought it at Marshalls. And instead, just say, thank you, or
But I do like to share when I find deals, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So I'm the one who's like, oh my God, I got this at Marshalls, you have to go.
Or, you know, somebody will say, hey, you did a great job at, you know, with your presentation, and a woman will say, oh, it was nothing. And no, don't
It
tell
is
somebody it was
something.
nothing, because if you tell them it was nothing, they'll think it was nothing. Instead of saying, men will say, thank you, I worked really hard on it, you know, and why can't we say, thank you, you know, I worked hard on it, I wanted to do a good job. And instead of right away going, it was nothing, it was nothing. I think in trying to be humble, we end up cutting ourselves down, losing ourselves. So we have to learn to build our self-esteem and then build the self-esteem of others. I always tell young women, you know, that it's great to be pretty, but it's better to be smart, you know, and
That's exactly
because
right.
we always tell little girls, oh, you're so pretty,
Mhm.
you're so pretty, and instead of saying you're so smart, and, you know, pretty can leave you, but smart never will, so.
So true.
You know, focusing on that.
When we were talking, something came to mind is I'm curious to know if every single one of us has had that moment where it changed everything on how you wanted to conquer life, you know, how you wanted to be more. I know for me personally, there was that moment, and it's when you hit rock bottom, whatever your rock bottom is, where maybe you're not proud of who you are, or you wish you would have done things differently, and then you just decide, like, I am gonna do it differently. I'm not gonna accept anything other than what I deserve. I'm curious if everyone is reached that, because I also think that is a big deal on how if we look at life and we start to see what we maybe considered failures or really bad moments in our life, and we see them as lessons on how to be better. I think that's also what makes women successful. That's a part of how you think. When that happens, some women, and a lot of people, even men, you know, they take that and then it just kind of like crippled them. Like that's it. They can't get past that. So I'm curious to know if every single one of us has had that moment that changed everything.
I think I can immediately come up with two moments actually. One was when I was still young, out of high school. My father was a great visionary, and he wanted us to expand our minds. So I was involved with an exchange student program from Lima, Peru into the United States. And I was sent for a year into Wisconsin. And think about this, Lima, Peru at that moment was 5 million people. So where I go is a farming community in Wisconsin with 600 people.
Wow.
So no mass transportation, no high tall buildings, nothing. I thought that I was going back on time, but at the end of that experience, what happened is that I learned that to appreciate differences, and that's changed my whole view forever. And then the next step is in 2001 with the recession. That year, my hero, my father, passed away. I got a divorce. I lost my job because a company that I was working for went out of business, and I almost lost my house. But I always had that attitude, okay, God, what I have to learn from here, you know, and so that kept me going. And at the end of that year, my saying was, one more line to the tiger, doesn't matter, because you know, it went disappearing. So it learned me to face challenges in a very amazing way. So there's nothing after that that I can do anything, you know. But anyways, that was for me that moment that really also changed my life, my perception of life.
What was yours? Just
I think mine was clearly finding myself in a marriage that we just together we were like poison. You know, each one of us in our own right were really good people, but for whatever reason together we just were horrible human beings. So and we were together. So just deciding that I wanted to find what made me happy, and I was going to create really strong boundaries to make sure that I was proud of who I was looking at in the mirror. I wasn't going to compromise myself ever again. I wasn't going to do anything that I did not want to do. So when you were talking about no, I can say no very easily because I won't compromise myself for anything. So it was that point, you know, waking up 10 years later going, this is not who I want to be for the next 35 years. Like, I definitely want to leave a legacy. I want to leave the world better than I found it. So it was huge for me, just kind of looking at my life as an adult, you know, in my marriage and saying it's not fair to him and it's not fair to me. So that was definitely my crossroads. What about you, Chrissy?
I think the same. You know, being divorced or going through a divorce with small children, and you know, we're always stuck in a situation where, you know, how can I get out of this, or how can it work for me? You know, going through the motions and going through the entire experience is a great ordeal, but you learn to live through it and you survive. And at that point, you know, you think, oh my God, how can I ever get past it? And you do, you know, until the next thing in your life comes around and you get past that as well. You know, there's always little, like you said, roadblocks, and you just learn to move past them, or you learn to deal with them and move past them. And I think part of what's made me successful is that I have an ex-husband that gives me great support. He's an amazing father, and that is huge when, you know, you're a single parent and you're working in an environment where it's extremely demanding of your time and your focus and your energy, and you know, going home late or getting home late after a 14-hour day, and your children don't understand where, you know, you're extremely tired. You don't want to have a conversation, or you don't want to have dinner, you just want to go to bed. I mean, they don't understand what that means exactly. They have needs, and that's all that they can think of at the moment. And so you need to fulfill that. You know, you need to fulfill your job as a parent and as a working mother. You know, but it has challenges, and it can be extremely rewarding as well.
Yes, I've had my moment. I had a divorce, and that was really, really eye-opening for me. My ex-husband was bipolar, so we went through a lot of different changes, and it was not a good divorce. And when I came out of that, I started to revamp myself, sort of. I was trying to figure out what was making me happy. So I couldn't find myself happy. I was just going with the flow, doing motions, and trying to figure out where I wanted to be. So then I got into working with because I was always working with Atlas since '97. I was always doing financial work for them. But I came full-time into Atlas back in 2008 to help, you know, mediate and, you know, get more control of the situation. My mother was, you know, tired. My father was tired. They needed to retire. My brother was working with them, but they needed some extra assistance in it. So I came in, took that over, and I started to really love it. But I lived in a box. I lived in Atlas. I breathed Atlas. Everything that, you know, I controlled everything. It was just in that box. So then I got married, met this wonderful man, remarried, beautiful children, and I started to see this box and try to make it a little bit bigger, and the box just got bigger. And then my mother had a stroke, and my mother was like everything. She's like the best businesswoman I could ever know, because not only did she you know, suffer? Did she sacrifice? She taught me everything I know. So when she went through that stroke, it was very emotional for me. And I realized she had all these accomplishments that she did, and nobody ever really appreciated her. So I thought, I'm gonna go out and do something that's bigger than just the box, you know. So that made me, give me the will to be here. Sorry.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
And you're
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
So all of that was a purpose so that, obviously, so you could touch so many lives, because anybody you come in contact with and decide, like, that's a project, we are so grateful. We are just so grateful.
Well, I've never been married, so I haven't had a divorce, but I had a lot of losses early in my life. I lost my mother when I was 14. She died in a car accident, very unexpected, and I had 2 younger brothers. I was scared to death that, you know, what am I going to do to help raise them? I was the only girl, and I always feared that something would happen to my father, and then I would be left raising 2 young children by myself at a very young age. And so one thing that came out of that is that I learned that you can get through anything. I mean, even the loss of somebody that is your rock, and that's hard, but you do it. My grandmother was the rock after my mother, and then she passed away my very first day of college. I remember I actually found her dead, and you know, I had a wonderful dad who's always been very supportive of anything I've wanted to do, but it's not the same as having that, you know, female figure there, your mom, your grandmother, the ones that you can talk to about anything, you know. And but I learned that you find support where you need it. You know, you do it in other relatives, you do it with your friends, and that sometimes they need it back, and you have to be there for them too, and you get through things, you know. And I haven't been married, I've had those relationships where you're like, yeah, you know, and you're done, and you're done. I think when a woman decides she's done, she's done.
Yeah.
And you know, so I like you, I put myself in a box when I was in politics. You eat, breathe, live it 24/7.
That's why you were amazing at what you
Yeah,
did.
well, thank you, but you get, you
You
know,
did.
to where you're always thinking about that. You're, even at
Yes.
night when you're reading something, you're reading political papers online, you're reading the blogs, you're reading you know, it gets crazy to where you isolate yourself from everything. I mean, you learn about so many areas and so many subjects, it's great. But at the same time, you isolate yourself from what the regular world is. You think everybody knows when election time is. You think everybody knows who
And then everybody
are.
understands that
And then
lingo,
everybody
right?
understands the
You
lingo.
know? Nobody does.
And so I had to learn to say, okay, I've done my 8 years. I feel like, you know, I gave everything I had to it. I want to do something else, you know. And I still want to be able to help the community and myself and to grow, but I want to do it in a different way. And so I think you just evolve. Your life evolves, you evolve. You deal with the hard times. You know, my father got diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. It's been now over 20 years. And I've seen him, I feel so bad for him because his muscles have degenerated. And my father's a very proud man. He doesn't want anybody to help him. He doesn't, you know, complain. He never says, poor me, why? I've learned a lot from him, watching him, you know, that no matter what we go through, we just have to be pragmatic and say, you know what, I got to deal with it, and I got to move on. And you can't dwell on it and feel sorry for yourself. Well, you can, but you can, at some point, you brush yourself off and you say, okay, I got to
Give
get
yourself
off
the 5
of it.
minutes, but
Yeah.
then that's it.
Yeah, put your big girl panties on.
So
There is no time.
Yeah, because you don't have time to dwell.
we don't get the time back.
You don't.
The time that we're dwelling, we don't get it back.
And when you have people watching you, when you have your children,
Yes.
when you have others watching you, you want to show them that life goes on and that we deal with problems, we fix them as best we can, and we move on. You don't want them to think that you're crippled with something.
Because what are you teaching them?
Yeah.
It's true. My turn, huh? Where's the tissue? You guys want to cry, right? No, I don't know that, but let me get some.
Well, I battled with bulimia for 10 years of my life, and that at 25, I was a college athlete and ended up with a stress fracture in my hip, and it turned into avascular necrosis. So at 25, running somewhere between 5 to 8 miles a day at the time, I was told I'd never be active again in my life, and that I should go to law school because I'm a pretty high energy person, and they were concerned with what would I do with all this energy, right? Fortunately, praise the Lord, I had a miracle healing, and I'm able to be active to this day, but it put me on my knees. I was completely out of control, living a party lifestyle in college, and I needed something to put me on my knees. And that's when I started a relationship with the Lord, and I'm not going to preach to you guys, but that changed my life forever. And it's a genuine relationship, not based on religion, but based on daily conversation, my best friend, right? And so that's what changed me. And then I hear significance is what I hear as you ladies talk, right? That's the chapter that we're in. It's coming into, it's not about us anymore, right? It's about creating significance, and we do that by touching the lives of others. That's why you wanted to do this, right?
Exactly. Thank you, Bridget.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone, for doing this. You know, what I hope that this does is somebody who is watching is inspired or relates to one of us that are here, because if we can do it, you can do it. And that is the point, right? Thanks,
Come
everybody,
join
for
us.
being here. Come join us. Women's Business Center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay, that was